use now. We think that it is better to have an emblem which is seen by military forces and recognized internationally, so that if they open fire on a journalist, then it is premeditated. Then it is not a mistake. They know that he is a journalist. We are still in the process of lobbying for our draft convention, which came out in December 2007. We have growing support for the movement, but we don't have concrete support for going into the process of negotiating a draft convention. It's very heartbreaking because, first of all, we are close to the 10th anniversary of the creation of the Press Emblem campaign, which is 4th June 2014, and we're still not there. And this year, over 100 journalists have been killed. For 5 years back, the figure goes beyond 500 journalists. Every year, more than 100 journalists. So, what is the solution? We put a solution. We presented a solution, but unfortunately, some quarters, plus media organizations which are very famous, plus some Western journalists do not approve our tendency to solve the problem. If you ask me why, I really have no explanation, because if you're a journalist, you want to protect yourself. And if you're a journalist, you want to protect your colleagues. And if you're a journalist, you want compensation if something happens to them. Because in the draft convention, you do have clauses that states compensation for a journalist if he's killed in a war zone or in a zone of civil unrest or dangerous zone. So I can't understand why, really. And of course we're going to continue our road until one day, we hope, maybe I'll be there, maybe I will not be there, but one day there will be headlines that the international community has endorsed a draft convention for the protection of journalists, including an emblem. Egypt has been living for the past 3 years a deep division. And this deep division is reflected in the media. You have the governmental newspapers, which of course by default reflect the person who is ruling the country or the government and so on. And you have the independent newspapers who by default go against whatever is common and tradition. The same applies to TV shows. I would prefer that those who are going totally astray and who go in a sense of crazy mood on TV calm down a little bit, because this is not good for Egypt. Even if you have facts, even if you have reason to speak like that, but it is better to have a moderating voice so that the country can calm down. The country is in a state of upheaval. We cannot continue like that. The things that happened, like explosions, like the one of Mansoura in late December, this has to stop. and has to stop by a sort of calming down, because the more the tone goes up, the more people become aggressive. But I would not say that the people, the normal people who are like me and like you and like others, become aggressive, because we are peaceful people. We are not going to go into the streets and do something, you know. But this antagonizes the other. I'm not saying that the other has reason to go to the streets. No, he has no reason. He should go to the polls in elections, in the referendum. Like when they used to say, you know, the real yardstick is the poll. Okay, then go. Go and exercise your right. Who wins, wins. Let's make it a fair game. Of course, because of the whole background of Egypt, that always elections are directed by those who are in power, people are not really willing to make that exercise, because they're not sure that it's going to be free and fair. But I think it will be free and fair, the next elections, the referendum and then the elections. And I hope that the other party, which is creating havoc in Egypt, calms down and thinks properly, thinks twice, thinks of the interest of Egypt before their personal interest. And if they can win, let them win. If they can't, well, this has been when all the people went down, others won. When few people went down, you had won. So let's go to the polls to vote, and not to resort to violence and events that lead to the loss of life and innocent life. Because also innocent life means that in every home of those innocent lives you create orphans, which complicates matters, makes the party which is peaceful likely to go aggressive. We don't want that. We want to calm down in this country, because we have to build it. We can't afford losing time more than that, because 50% of the Egyptians are living under poverty line, and 50% of the Egyptians live in slums, and 50% of the Egyptians are deprived from health care and all decent life. We want to overcome this period and move to a more prosperous society, where every Egyptian has dignity and every Egyptian is respected. I think they're playing a very, very important role. For example, I was in Upper Egypt, and there I met with maybe 150 NGOs. I met on behalf of the Egyptian Feminist Union, a team from the Egyptian Feminist Union. We were there. Dr. Hoda Badran was with us in Luxor. And I was amazed by the NGOs. They are so active and so forceful, and then making a difference on the ground. And I believe the future of Egypt is not going to lie with governmental services. It's going to lie with civil society services. And if we increase our aid to these people, you will see a different Egypt. And here you had asked me about political participation. I forgot to mention something, is that the Egyptian Feminist Union has organized a campaign to support 100 women for the House of Representatives. And it's called the Women for Women campaign. And whenever we go into a meeting, men are angry, because they say you have to say Men and Women for Women campaign. So because we have regulations according to the laws, so if you get the agreement on women to women, you can't change the slogan. But in our buy banners, we have set the alliance of Men and Women for Women campaign. Also, they asked us to refer to Egypt, which was part of our slogans. So we are adding Women to Women for Egypt. So we are going to, the campaign is going to start on the 1st of January. It's a fundraising campaign. We hope to achieve a collection of 30 million Egyptian pounds. Why? Because we say if 30th of June meant 30 million people in the streets. If everyone pays £1, the result will be 30 million. So we are very hopeful, and we wish to support 100 women for parliament. My advice first is to be educated. I don't want any woman to shy away from education. This is her backbone, this is her strength, this is her weapon. And two, to work. If she has to stay at home for 5 years, for example, until her kids are, relatively in shape and can go to school, then that's fine. She can cut 5 years from her working career. But then she must go back to work, because both education and work are her strength. What else would I advise women? I would advise women to be educated from the legal point of view, so that she will not be abused. And what else? To be very active and not to be afraid of anything. Women are a very important force of Egypt, 50%. There are a lot of women who are bread earners. Their husbands do not work, and therefore she takes care of the family and the children. And I salute all these women who are really champions of Egypt.